This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with freebets.com, Empire Fight Store, Forged Irish Stout. Delighted to be joined in Liverpool with Callum Smith. As I said, boxing's back in Liverpool. Another big fight for Natasha Jonas taking on Michaela Meyer. We just seen Steve Clark put in a top performance. How do you sort of look back at boxing being back in the city and a big performance from Steve and hopefully one for Jonas?
Yeah, it's good. It's obviously good to have shows back in the city. No, I'm proud to be from the city and I'm proud to have brought big shows here myself. So it's good to come as a spectator and be able to sit and watch and enjoy them. And it was good to see Steve Clark get off to the winning start in his debut. I thought he performed well. Good to see my brother Stephen starting his coaching career as well with him. So it's a journey I'll keep a close eye on. And obviously I'm a big Tasha Jonas fan. I'm friends with her for many years now from the amateur days and stuff. So it's good to see her performing at the highest level, and I think she's in a tough fight tonight, but a fight she comes out on top.
Absolutely. Now, this week I've asked the question to, I suppose, all your other three brothers, and it's very rare we'll get a family that have achieved so much in the boxing game and done so much for a city like yourself, Stephen, Paul and Liam. Do you ever get time to look back and realise that it may never get replicated again?
Not really. I think when you're in the moment you're kind of just always chasing, and I think as a fighter and a sports person you're never really satisfied. You're always just chasing and you always want more regardless of what you achieve, and I think that's been the case for the four of us, and we've never actually probably took time to sit back and realise what we have actually achieved. I think because you're always wanting more. I think maybe when we're all done we'll sit back and realise what we have managed to do, but at the time no, I think we're still always trying to add to what we've achieved, and fingers crossed we can add a little bit more before we're done.
Definitely, and I suppose we'll touch on the main talking point. It's been about 7 days now since you came up short against Artur Beterbiev. With it being a week and having sort of this week to digest, look back on things, how would you reflect on that performance against Beterbiev?
Look, it is what it is. I try not to think about it too much, but it's hard not to, and think I still haven't watched the full fight back yet. I've seen a lot of clips, but it's just one of them. When you from world champion, I always believed I was the best in the world, and I get back to where I was, and to come up short, it's hard to accept. It's like a spoiled kid really. If I'm not the best, then no, I'm not happy. So it's one of them. But no, like I say, the better man on the night won. It was a good fight while it lasted. I believe there's parts I've done well, parts not so well, but I think that's just boxing for you. You've got to just accept it and move on.
You mentioned there about accepting that you aren't the best and there is someone better than you. How hard is that for yourself to understand that, I was just beaten by a great fighter that, may be greater than me? Is that a hard thing for you to accept? Yeah,
definitely, because I think if I was to have a rematch tomorrow, I'd still walk the ring believing I could beat him. I think it's at the highest level, it's always the smallest of differences what make the difference between winning and losing, and he was the better man on that night. He tactically probably got a little bit better and probably performed a little bit better, and I say there's no excuses from me on the night. Do I believe I can beat him? Yeah, 100%. I do believe I can beat him, but I didn't, and so there's no excuses from my part. We both went over there, we both got in there, and he performed that little bit better and managed to get the win. So I think in sport it is hard accepting losing, but as a man you learn over the years to just take your loss like a man and say accept it and move on and look for reasons why I lost and try and say fix it and come back a better fighter.
And I know it's a hard question for me to ask because one's about a week away and the other, and obviously the Canelo fight was about sort of 3 or 4 years ago. How does those sort of the feelings from the Canelo fight to this fight now, is there much of a difference in feeling when losing at world level is a really hard thing to deal? So is there sort of much difference in feeling? How would they sort of compare?
It's different. The Canelo fight was devastating because it was my first time I'd ever lost. I lost my world title and I felt like my world come crashing down. But I think it was a little bit because I've moved up in weight after it and changed training. It was kind of easy to accept that I had new goals and new challenges. I was a light heavyweight after that fight, so it was easy to kind of put it away. I think if I was to come back as a super middleweight and enter a weight division where I kind of knew someone had beat me and was ranked higher than me, it'd probably be a little bit tougher, but I knew that was my time at 168 done and I was moving up, whereas this one's tough because, like I say, I believed I set goals to become a 2-weight world champion and I still haven't quite achieved that, so it's never easy to take. Losing's hard, and you get people who say, oh yeah, you lost to Canelo or you lost to Beterbiev, but it doesn't really make it any easier. I think when you're at that level and you've been a world champion, you always believe you're going to come out on top, and you never really envision sitting here as a loser. So it's tough. Let's say you've got to come to terms with it, but you know, I'm a man. I learned to not celebrate with a win, but you take your loss like a man as well.
And you talking in an interview there with Seconds Out. I know you said no excuses, and you know, as I said, I'm not trying to make excuses for you. But in an interview with Seconds Out, you talked about the inactivity. I think it was sort of, as you said, 17 months out of the ring, and even think since the move up to light heavyweight in September 2021, you obviously had the Castillo fight, then the Bordeleke fight in August 2022. And I know it's not, not your fault because you obviously planned a fight in March of 23 and then August of 23. But do you feel like you got the inactivity for yourself did catch up to you?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, not just in this fight. I think the inactivity over the last however many years is probably hindered my career in terms of being at me peak or at my absolute best. I think I was always kind of fighting against a bit of ring rust and stuff. And even when I was winning, so it's not just because I lost. Even when I was winning, I probably wasn't performing to the best of my ability because of the inactivity. I think someone said the other day, I think it's now I'm fighting 7 years or something, which is horrendous considering how active I was earlier on in my career. And I lost to Canelo in I think December 2020, and then that was my third fight since. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really ideal, but you play with the card you're dealt, and I was never going to pull out of the fight. Or I tried to speak to my promotional team to get a fight in the interim when the August fight was postponed, and that fell on deaf ears, to be honest with you. So it wasn't ideal, but I still got in there with full belief that I was good enough to do it. Although ring rust is a thing, you always believe you're good enough to kind of override it, so to speak. And I have been so far in the past, but no, I do think to win at the very highest level, you need to be at your absolute best. And I think the inactivity probably hindered me a little bit, but I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. I got in there and I've won, coming off long layoffs as well. So it's not an excuse. It's just, like I say, probably a reason why I wasn't at my absolute best.
When it comes to someone like Beterbiev as well, and the narrative is that he is this monster, he's this killer. With that being said, and that all gets said in the media, was there anything that surprised you when you got in the ring with him?
No, not to be honest with you. So more like tactically, when he got me on the ropes, I expected him to try and take me out, and he wasn't. He was kind of throwing a lot of like 50-60% shots and just kept throwing them, and it was hard to kind of slip and move. He just kept throwing, and it was hard to sort of catch and counter with them. So I think tactically that was probably a little bit surprising. I was expecting 1 or 2, 3 big bombs to try and take me out, which he kind of normally throws, so maybe that was tactically on his part. I'm not too sure, but in terms of everything else, it wasn't overly surprising when I was in there. I think you just kind of know you're in there with a good fighter. I knew he was a good fighter going in there, and I say my opinion's still the same.
When it comes to accountability, and yourself, you said no excuses and no accountability. Is that an important thing where no matter how camp went, whether I'm not speaking for you, but whether camp went good for you, whether camp went bad for you, you understand that you went in the ring there, and that was your choice to get in the ring, no matter how it would have gone.
I'm a big believer in that. I say a lot of camps don't go as planned as a fighter. I think when you're putting your body through it every day, you do get injuries, niggles. Some are worse than others, but the minute you step through them ropes, you leave all your excuses in the changing rooms. And I've been there before where I've had terrible camps and performed well, or I've had great camps and underperformed. You learn to just get on with it. Was camp great? It wasn't the best camp I've ever had, but I was in good shape. I was fit. I think we've seen on the scales. I was in good physical shape. So it is what it is. Like I say, there's a lot of things that come into it on the night, and it's just whoever performs better at that time. And he obviously performed better than me, and got the win.
When it comes to what's next, it's a question that has been floated around this week, and you spoke about being it hard to accept that you aren't the best, and in boxing you want to have the motivation to be the best. That's why you start in the game. With that sort of trying to accept that now, what is the motivation for you to continue?
I just want to be a 2-8 world champion, and I believed I'd be sitting here one now, and I'm not. So it's hard because I wanted to get in and get out probably a bit earlier than what I'm in now, but to walk away and not having to achieve what I set out to do is a little bit tough as well. So I'd say it's a little bit raw at the minute. I want to take some time away with the family, and then we'll decide what what fights are out there for me and what motivation I've got to get back in there and achieve me goals, which I've set out to do. So I'm not making any decisions, I'm not retiring, but I just need to see what motivates me and what fights are out there for me.
What fights that could be out there for you? We did see Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, shake hands on a 5 versus 5. The common thing is everyone said Callum Smith, Anthony Yarde. With that potentially looking, over in Saudi Arabia, is that something that you would be interested in?
Yeah, that's a fight. I say it's a good fight. I think outside the champions, it's one of the better fights in the division. So it's definitely a fight that would motivate me compared to most of them. I say we'll take some time away and then we'll come back and we'll see what the options are out there for me. But that definitely is one. If it's still there when the time's right, then it's definitely a fight that can be made. Ideally, it'd be better if there was a world title on the line, but they all seem to be tied up with Beterbiev and Bivol at the minute, so I think it's definitely a good fight outside of the champions.
Absolutely. Callum, I want to say thank you for taking time to speak to me. Really, really appreciate catching up with you. And as I said, it'd be hard for you to easy for you to say no to me considering what's happened in the past week. So I appreciate you sort of facing the cameras and facing the questions that I had. So I appreciate it, mate. Thank you. And all the best for the future, mate, or whatever may hold, mate. Top man. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
We need to think of a new advert for freebets.com.
Get your best betting offers from freebets.com.
Yeah, that'll do.
The following deals are now live.